After a fierce beatdown of Club Sport Herediano at the Dig last night in CONCACAF Champions Cup action, LA Galaxy finally won their first competitive match of 2025 while advancing to the quarterfinals of the CONCA Champions. But the team is still dealing with injuries. And up next is a tough match in Portland. Can Galaxy carry this momentum into the weekend against a Timber squad struggling to find their identity after losing Evander in the offseason? Let's get into it.
You're tuned into news across the galaxy where they talk all things LA Galaxy with the Nag Boys. Let's start nagging.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of News Across the Galaxy. Thursday. That's how you know we don't use it. I usually go on Thursdays. But yes, welcome to a Thursday edition of News Across the Galaxies, the midweek show. I'm your host, as always, Edgar Zuniga. On the ones and twos, it's Bryant. Can we get some horns for Bryant? Yeah. And joining us to talk about Portland Timbers all the way from León, Guanajuato, it's our good friend, Luis El Fiero Viajero Olenek. What's up, Luis?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah, man. It's always nice to have you on. You're a good friend of the show, and we know, man, you're one of those people that walks that fine line between two clubs and that you love so much. And so we really trust your opinion, whether it's León or Portland in this occasion.
Mhm.
But before we get into that, just a real quick recap of what happened last night at the Dig. LA Galaxy came into the game down 1-0 in aggregate against Club Sport Herediano. A lot of ticos were on hand. I got to interview one of them. If you haven't seen it yet, it's up on my Instagram account. A lot of them felt very confident that they could take down the MLS Cup champions. Uh, I predicted the Galaxy was going to win 2-0. I did not expect what we got to see, actually, which is a beatdown of Herediano. Galaxy won 4-1, advanced to the quarterfinals against Tigres, which that's really going to up the ante right there. But for LA Galaxy, a very meaningful victory. Not only do they move up in an international tournament, but they also get their first win of the season of 2025 across all competitions. The LA Galaxy still hasn't won in MLS. But up next is, like I said, is Portland Timbers. Before we get into Portland Timbers, Lewis, can you tell us how you've been, man? It's been a while since we talked to you. It's a new year. I know things are very exciting in León. It's like this weird duality, right? You have Club León, who's flying high, and then you have the Timbers, who are like trying to figure things out. How you been, Lewis?
Yeah, well, it's been a little strange with Leon having this incredible season, de ensueño, as we would say down here, a dream season. I mean, 2/3 of the way into the season, they've topped the table pretty much almost from beginning to end, bringing in stellar world class signing James Rodriguez. Best player in the history of the Selección Colombiana, arguably. And flying high supporting Leon right now. And I almost didn't want the MLS season to start because I didn't want it to come in and kill my vibe. Just thinking about how, I mean, I love my Timbers, but there was so much unease surrounding Portland coming into the season. And honestly, most of us in Timbers land don't have high expectations for this team. So on one hand, I have Leon that's flying about as high as you can fly, at least in terms of a Liga MX regular season. We'll see when it comes time for Liguilla and all that. But they're flying high in the regular season, and then these Portland Timbers, who we don't really know what we have with them, moving into a transitional phase, a transitional season, a season where we don't really know what to expect, and what we do expect is not that much. It just kind of cramping my style a little bit. I was almost hoping that the MLS season didn't have to start just yet, so I could keep enjoying Leon as I had been. But I'm
And
doing well, man. Doing well, man, down here. Doing my thing down here in Mexico.
and what a strange like way to cap 2024 for the Timbers, and then begin almost almost the same way in 2025, because the last we saw of the Timbers in 2024, they were like really happy to be hosting a game that should have been played up in BC Place in Vancouver, and surprise, surprise, right? The Whitecaps come in and just completely spoil the party.
Yeah.
It's a crushing loss for the Timbers, which, um, as we found out later, it was more than just losing a playoff game, because there was a lot of strife behind closed doors. Next thing you know, Evander is on social media, just like going off on everyone from left and right in the Timbers organization, and it went from that kind of discontent to him eventually saying "see ya," forcing the team to trade him over to Cincinnati. Um, what happened to the Timbers in the offseason? And on
Yeah.
top, and to piggyback on that, because we were talking about this before we went on, is Phil Neville still the man for the Timbers?
Yeah, well, I mean, whether Phil Neville's still the man for the Timbers is, just part of a large web of uncertainty surrounding the club that goes, all the way up from ownership all the way down to the kit man. I mean, there's just a ton of uncertainty in this franchise. Starting, of course, with the whole Evander debacle in the offseason. The Evander situation is complex and multi-layered and maximum ugly. Starting with just the fact that, I mean, I don't think I'm necessarily even going out on a limb here when I say that just in terms of pure skill, um, Evander might have been the most dynamic player that the Portland Timbers have ever signed in the MLS era. There have obviously been players in the history of the franchise who have been more impactful, such as your Diego Valeris and your Sebastian Blancos and all of that, who led us to the greatest heights that you can get to in MLS. But just in terms of sheer football skill, MVP caliber skill, season in, season out. That might be Evander, and to lose a player like that under any circumstances is going to be hard to recover from. Even if you replace him right away with another designated player, which the team did, has yet to be seen how that will work out. Really, but to lose a player like that is going to be devastating. The unfortunate thing is, what might be even more devastating are the underlying reasons for the departure. It just never seemed to work out for Evander. He never seemed happy as a Portland Timber. It just, that marriage just never seemed to work out the way that those of us within the fan base would have liked it to. And there are huge questions about that. Where does that stem from? Did he not get along with Phil Neville? Did he not get along with sporting director Ned Grabavoy? Did he not enjoy playing for the Merritt Paulson ownership group, which has come under fire and has been questioned a lot in recent years for various reasons? It could be any number of those things. It could be a combination of those things. Now, other players in the organization don't seem to have that issue. Diego Chara is about to become the longest serving one club man in the history of the Portland Timbers, and he's doing it without batting an eyelash. He doesn't seem to be discontent in any way, and this is with even with the team having brought in his brother and then sent him packing. I mean, so there are players who are willing to deal with the intricacies of playing for a franchise that's been so under the microscope for so many reasons, like the Portland Timbers. But Evander was just never going to get there. He was never going to get there with this club. And, we are worse off on the pitch without him, that is for sure. And we probably will be for some time. But if he didn't want to be here, then, he needed to go. It's as simple as that. It's painful. Again, probably the most skilled player that the club has ever had, just in terms of sheer skill. But he didn't want to be here. He needed to go. And but when you lose a piece like that, I mean, he's the kind of player, just like James Rodriguez is in Leon right now. Just as hate to bring up Messi, but Messi for Inter Miami, there are certain players who could join an MLS club. They're going to be the best player on the pitch in the majority of the matches that they play. And that in a league like MLS can go a long way. And so to lose a piece like that from our squad, I mean, that's going to have a major impact on what our aspirations are, what the Timbers' aspirations are moving forward.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that actually, because, like you said, a player like Messi makes a big deal. A player like James makes a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we saw what Sergio Ramos did for Monterrey, well, until they got eliminated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is how does this reflect on the Timbers organization? Because the Timbers organization in Seattle for a long time, right, we're trading off who's going to be going to MLS Cup. The
Yeah.
Timbers have largely had success since in the MLS era, and now they're like in this really weird, strange era where it seems like the club's future is in limbo. And how do you how do you try to sell the Timbers to a somebody, let's say, from South America or Europe, who's looking to go somewhere in MLS, right? And they see what's going on with Inter Miami, they see what's going on with LA, both LA teams, right? And they see what some of the other teams in MLS have been doing, like Atlanta and Charlotte, even San Jose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, right? To try to attract names and try to remain successful. You have this amazing fan base, you have this amazing stadium, this beautiful city, but there's something in the water, right? That just ain't right. And you see Evander leave. How do you rectify that? How would you sell this team, Lewis? How would if you're like looking at a player from South America or Europe or even Asia, right? And you're like, hey, come play for us. But what about this, Lewis? What do you tell them?
Well, fortunately, the Timbers have a great pipeline to South America, especially to Colombia, but also to Peru and now Ecuador. They've made their first significant signing from Ecuador with Joao Ortiz, defensive midfielder. Um, I'm not so worried about the pipeline. We've had enough players come here and do well. I say here. I'm not in Portland right now. Full disclosure. That we've had enough players come to South America from Portland and do well and seem to enjoy their time and eventually make their home in Portland after they either retire or even go to another club, but they continue to make their home in Portland. I mean, there's enough cred there, I would say, that we're still going to bring in high quality talent from South America. But you're absolutely right about several things. I mean, the Timbers brand used to sell itself. The Soccer City USA brand, Pele played in our stadium, all of this kind of stuff. We were Soccer City. We loved soccer. Soccer was the number one sport in Portland long before MLS even existed. They that those things used to sell the club and sell the brand on their own. And obviously, you're right. From 2015 to 2021, that's 7 MLS seasons. The Western Conference representative in MLS Cup was either Seattle or Portland. Seattle did it 4 times. Portland did it 3. They were trading jabs, trading back and forth. I mean, obviously, that's one of the most bitter rivalries that we have in our league. And so to be trading barbs like that, it was great for the league. It was great for the Cascadia rivalry. But at some point, the Sounders were able to maintain their relevance year after year, no matter who came in, no matter who came out. Um, whatever players whatever big time players they would lose, they would go shopping for others. I mean, they're in Conca Champions almost every year. They're in the hunt for. They may make deep MLS playoff runs every year. Portland was in that boat, and then at some point the wheels just kind of fell off, and they haven't been able since their last run to MLS Cup in 2021. Obviously, they had the MLS is Back tournament win before that on their Conca Champions appearance in 2021, and their MLS Cup run in 2021. Since then, uh, the wheels have just kind of come off. They haven't been able to get back to that same level of relevance, both in the eyes of the media that covers our league and just in terms of sheer standings and on-field performance. They just haven't been able to get back to that level of relevance while they see teams like Seattle. That's the one that's most painful. I mean, you can talk about other teams that are in our immediate bubble, your San Jose's, your LAFC's, your Vancouver's, your Galaxy, the teams that we have our traditional, that they tend to be bitter, hard fought matches. All of those teams have managed to, maybe not San Jose, but all of those teams have managed to, they've managed to be more relevant than the Timbers have been able to stay since that last MLS Cup run. And like you said, it just feels like there's something nasty in the water that they're drinking that just keeps the organization from getting to the heights that it should. I mean, you talk about the fan base, 99% of the fan bases in MLS would kill to have the fan base, the loyal, waiting list, the sellout streak, waiting list for tickets kind of fan base that the Timbers have. And frankly, the fan base deserves better than what they've gotten for the past few seasons. Missing the playoffs for 3 straight seasons after making MLS Cup, and making the play-in and getting blown out by Vancouver does not count as making the playoffs in my book. The fan base just deserves so much better than they've gotten. And sadly, I don't know I don't think there's any quick fix to this. I mean, we're just going to have to hope that, they did make a ton of promising signings in the offseason, starting, of course, with the designated player to replace Evander. Nobody can really do that, but to fill his shoes in David da Costa from Lens in Ligue 1. That might turn out to be a really good signing. They've made a few other really good potentially good signings. It just hasn't come together yet, and maybe it will. It's going to take some time, and there's going to be a lot of uncertainty before we really know what we have with our current squad on the post-Evander world. And obviously, like the Galaxy, not to the same degree, but we're dealing with some injuries, some key injuries to key players. So we haven't been able to field first choice 11 yet. And even when we do, is Phil Neville, like you were suggesting, is Phil Neville the guy to steer this ship or not? Is Phil Neville the timonel for this barco? I don't really know. We're gonna find out. I mean, the proof of concept that we have on him so far is not the greatest. He's been good for stretches. There have been stretches where he has instilled confidence in the fan base, but for the most part, we're like, is this really the guy? And now it's like, is this really the squad that's going to get us back to the relevance that our fan base deserves, and that the legacy franchise that is the Portland Timbers deserves, and the heights that this storied club deserves to get back to? We just don't know. There's so much uncertainty right now, and nobody knows what the fix is.
Well, that leads to my next question for you is, what are the expectations for the club this season? Do you think Timbers is going to be fighting for a playoff spot this year, or they're going to be fighting for any trophies? Because Timbers is going to be playing League's Cup, right? Yeah, I understand. And
Timbers
US
will be
Open Cup
playing Leagues
probably.
Cup and US Open Cup. Yes, they're one of the
Do you
few
think
teams
this
that
team
is
will
playing
be
both.
able to fight? Will be able to contend for a championship this year, or do you think it's going to be another rebuilding year under that Phil Neville era?
Well, from what I've seen so far through 3 matches, I can't imagine that an MLS Cup, like a serious run to MLS Cup, is on the table. I just can't. I can't imagine that. I would be happy for them to prove me wrong. I'd be happy to be pleasantly surprised on that front. I can't see that. I would love to see them go hard for something like the US Open Cup, something that Seattle has won however many times, 3 or 4 times, and they hold that over our heads that we've never won even a single one. There aren't going to be as many clubs in it, and who knows how hard those clubs that are in it are going to go for it. I would love for Portland to go hard for something like that, or for Leagues Cup. I just don't think they're going to do well enough over the course of a long MLS season to really be serious contenders in the playoff hunt for the MLS Cup playoffs this season. I don't know, just from what I've seen so far. Historically, we haven't been a good early season team. We've never had good Marches, like ever. Even when we've made MLS Cup, even when they've gotten to when they made MLS Cup in 2015, 2018, and 2021, when they won the Western Conference in the regular season in 2017, they didn't have good early seasons. Any of those seasons, they don't have it. So I'm not ruling them out just yet. What I've seen so far, they have a long way to go to build the sort of chemistry that it would take to make any sort of deep MLS Cup playoff run. But in those one-off type tournaments, you just never know. Anything can happen. I would love to see them go hard for those. And, I would love to see our new signings start to gel little by little and instill more confidence in me. Right now, for the first 3 matches, yes, it was a little better in match 2. Took a big step back in match 3. They did not look competitive against a very, very subpar Nashville side. Yes, it was an away match. It's hard to play away in MLS. And Nashville, they're not the team that we're accustomed to necessarily, but they're a tough out at home always. Yes, obviously, but the Timbers just did not look competitive in that game, and that's the evidence that we have to go on so far is a lot more bad than good in this current MLS season. And Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of. I mean, I'm just kind of hoping it starts to gel.
Yeah.
I,
Well,
you know.
let's shift our attention to this Sunday's match
Mhm.
because it's LA Galaxy feels like, my God, they're playing a game like every 2 to 3 days at this point. Um, I saw somewhere online where they when they go up to Portland, at that point they will have accumulated something crazy like 28,000 miles or something like that, or some. I don't have the exact number, but they've also spent like 28 hours in the air, which is crazy because they flew from LA to Vancouver to Costa Rica, back to LA, and now up to Portland. That's a lot of flight, freaking flyer miles right there that
Yeah.
they're accruing. But as we shift the attention to the game this Sunday, let's look at the player availability report, because for a lot of Galaxy fans, we're looking at this every single day to see if anybody gets off the injured list. Obviously, we saw Carlos Armiro Garces finally come back against Herediano a week ago. He played over the weekend, and he also played last night. He came in as a sub, so he's back. Hopefully, he stays healthy. He's a really important part of that Galaxy defense. Um, and then we look at the rest of the list. Ricky Puig still out. We know that already. He's going to be out until sometime in late July, maybe early August at the latest. Joseph Paintsil, he's still out. He's going to be probably out for the next a month, more or less. Hopefully sooner than later. Mauricio Gueva's still out. No real timetable on his return, at least to my knowledge. Uh, and then we also have Lucas Sanabria, who's supposed to come in, obviously, to replace Ricky Puig, and never, I mean, replace, right? Step in into a role to try and put a bandit on that missing piece, right? And then, as we saw, he fractured his collarbone. He's still out. He's probably going to be out for 3 months. But Mateus Nascimento, Brazilian signing that we haven't even seen yet play, he's been out, but supposedly him and Miki Yamane, who's also been injured, might come back against Portland this weekend. So keep your fingers crossed. We haven't seen Nascimento yet, and he might be a breath of fresh air, especially in attacking third for the LA Galaxy, where up until last night's game, they have been struggling mightily to try to generate consistent offense. You can't rely on Gabriel Peck all the time. And of course, Miki Yamane, who's been such an important part of this club's uh, success as a wingback, it'll be nice to have him back as well. Um, you mentioned some injuries that Portland's been dealing with, Lewis. What can you tell us
Mhm.
about Portland heading into this match?
Well, the biggest, most glaring absence to start this season is Jonathan Cabecita Rodriguez. That's 15, 14 or 15 goals. I can't remember. We had the highest scoring tridente in Major League Soccer last season with Cabecita, Evander, and Felipe Mora up top, combining for something like 35 or 36 goals. Um, these are no more than that. What am I saying? Like 45 goals or something like that. Yeah. Um, and Cabecita's out. He's been hurt. He's dealing with a knee issue to start the season. And if he were in the lineup, he would be instantly our biggest goal scoring threat. And without him, the team has struggled. They have struggled to score. They have 2 goals in 3 matches on the season. And one was kind of a fluky set piece free kick from our new designated player, David da Costa, who basically was trying to get a ball into the area on the free kick, and the goalkeeper didn't see it and it snuck by. I mean, that's not a sustainable way to score. And we've brought in some new signings in Kevin Kelsey and Ariel Lassiter, who try to make up for some of that goal scoring load that Evander left behind, and it's just not there yet. We'll see if it gets there. But yeah, I mean that's the major injury. Felipe Mora himself hasn't been able to play a full 90 minutes yet. He came in as a sub against Nashville. He's clearly not 100%. He's able to play, but he's not 100%. And him not being 100% also hamstrings our goal scoring possibilities significantly. So those are the two main ones. I mean, obviously Jonathan Rodriguez he's not available. He will not play. And then Felipe Mora is not 100%. We need those guys. If we have any shot to do anything really this season, we need those guys to be healthy and 100%. And so, I mean, until obviously we don't want to be Cabecita dependent, but I mean, it's just going to be a struggle until he comes back. When you're missing your top goal scorer who draws so much attention, I mean, that just makes things so much harder for the other guys in the attack to get going. So yeah, that's going to be an issue until he comes back. Those are the main two, I would say.
This is interesting the way we're talking about our teams.
Yeah,
It's like it's gonna be like a
yeah,
slap fight or something in the hallway.
yeah, yeah,
um, so let's get into the all-time record between these two teams. LA Galaxy and Portland Timbers have played each other a total of about 38 times, I think. I'm trying to do the math right here. Across all competitions, LA Galaxy has 15 wins, Portland has 14, and there's 9 draws in between both teams. In the regular season, Galaxy has 14 wins, Portland has 11, 9 draws again. And of course, in Providence Park, that's where Portland has been more dominant. LA Galaxy only has 4 wins against Portland all time in Providence Park, where Portland has 8 wins, 4 draws. Last season, LA Galaxy and Portland split the season series, with Galaxy winning 3-2 on July 20th at the Dig, and then Portland's completely smashing the Galaxy 4-2 at Providence Park on September 18. Um, and real quick, let's get into the ref report, which I think I sent it to you earlier.
yep,
Interesting dynamic when you get into it. So the ref heading into this match is Lukas Spala. I'm butchering his name. He's Polish. Lukas Spala. Lukas Spala is a FIFA sanctioned referee. He also referees at the CONCACAF club and national level. He's actually done a couple matches in the CONCACAF Champions. He did the America Chivas match last night. Since 2021, he has refereed 78 MLS regular season matches, 4 total with LA Galaxy, for 2 wins and 2 draws, no losses. All of these games have been away, but he's done 5 with Portland Timbers, 2 wins, no draws, 3 losses, including a record of 2 wins, no draws, no losses at home. So something's gonna give. Spazla's last Galaxy match was a 2-2 draw with Minnesota United away last May 15th. He handed out 2 yellows to Minnesota, 1 to LA Galaxy. His last match with Portland Timbers was a 1-0 win over Seattle Sounders at home, October 31st. This is going to be Spala's third MLS match of 2025 and 20 matches during the 24 regular season. He handed out 71 yellow cards, 5 red, for an average of 3.55 yellows per game, awarding 5 penalty kicks along the way. So, Lewis, Galaxy has never lost with this ref. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, he's never lost with this ref. And Portland has never lost at home with this ref. Something is gonna give. Um, Having heard the all-time record, having discussed all the injuries that both teams are dealing with, all the stuff that's in flux right now. This game is a Sunday afternoon match up in Portland, where LA Galaxy has always had difficulty playing these Sunday matches. It's an artificial turf. Who knows how Marco Roche is going to get up for this game? He was held out against Herediano, apparently not because of an injury, but because they're just, I guess, load management. They don't want to exactly say that, but Roche will probably be available. What do you expect, Lewis? Since you're our guest, we're going to give you the first crack at this. What is your prediction for this match?
man, I love how you really get into the weeds with the advanced stats and history and stuff like that. I don't I don't do a whole ton of that. I certainly don't. I would hope that the stats that this referee has in terms of Galaxy matches refed and Timbers matches refed, I would hope that has absolutely no bearing on anything coming up. I mean, you gotta play and you gotta win no matter who's blowing the whistle. That's kind of my 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 view of it. I mean, I don't think there's no such thing. We're talking about human beings. There's no such thing as true impartiality. I mean, the refs have these for a reason. They tend to favor some teams more than others for whatever reason, or at least it might seem that way. I don't know. I can't. If I start thinking about that, ever at any point, I'll go nuts. So
It's a slippery slope, man.
it's a slippery slope. So I just kind of try to put that out of my head. But more interesting to me is the history between the two clubs. Very even, um, which I think is. I mean, both of these clubs have been obviously. Galaxy has a much longer MLS history than the Timbers do, but both of these teams, for most of their storied histories, have been quality clubs, and so their matches when they play have been generally pretty exciting. Lots of goals scored. Um, I don't know how if that trend is going to see itself repeated this time, considering the state of both rosters and what players we have available. Uh, Galaxy's biggest goal scoring threats are obviously not available. I mean, there's still a couple of guys there like Peck, who I'm a little bit I'm always going to be a little bit wary of. But I mean, Cabecita's not there. Mora, who knows if he's good to start and how many minutes he'll be able to play. I don't know if this is going to be another barn burner like we're used to seeing. Obviously, you mentioned the two matches last year were good microcosm, 3-2 and 4-2. That's what is that? 11 goals scored between the two matches that they played. That's a lot. I don't know if we're going to see something like that, but I seem to remember a lot of Timbers Galaxy games that were like that. They were barn burners with a lot of goals scored, a lot of back and forth, and a lot of excitement. Given that I have no idea what to expect out of this Timber squad, especially in this early going, I would love to see a match like that, even if it doesn't go our way. I would love to see some.
Oh no, we lost him. Looks like Merritt Paulson didn't like what he was about to say. So while we wait for Lewis to get back on, just real quick, like I was mentioning, Yamane is supposed to be back. So is Mateos Nascimento. Um, and Marco Roche was being held back in the game against Herediano. So expect all three of these players to hopefully be back in the fold. Whoa, we got Lewis back. Lewis, back to you, my friend.
Hi, sorry, I
We
don't know where I cut off.
we were saying that
Um,
Merritt Paulson cut you off, man.
no, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so. Um, No, I don't know where I left off. I was just saying, without knowing what to expect from this Timbers team, I would love to see them go out there and score a few goals, even if it's in a losing effort. But I will say, Portland, Portland and Galaxy is a rivalry game to a lot of people, not on the same level as Seattle or Vancouver necessarily, but it is a rivalry game. And I mean, I would like to think our team's going to bring their A game at home, where we've been good historically against the Galaxy, and hopefully we can get a win. I don't know by what scoreline, but hopefully we can get a win.
Okay. Yeah, this is a very strange time for LA Galaxy because on top of all the travel and all the injuries, which it's almost like a revolving door. Like some people have been getting hurt, some people are coming back. We've also seen the LA Galaxy depth, the roster depth being tested. We saw some academy kids play over the last week and a half, and for example, in last night's match, Harbor Miller, all of 17 years old, did a fantastic job for the LA Galaxy. We saw him do well over the weekend as well. You could tell this kid is hungry to make his mark and make the most of his opportunity. Make as much as possible if he can from what he can do with the minutes that he's given. And last night, Los Angeles Wild Squad named him man of the match. They doused him in beer, which is kind of funny because he's only 17, right? Like, don't drink any of that, kid. Hopefully, it was just apple cider. But he if he does come on there, expect him to try to make his mark in the game as well. Uh, we have yet to see Mateos Nascimento. I'm really eager to see him because we heard so much from our good friend Leonardo way out in Brazil talking about how he has potential to be another Peck, another Gabriel Peck, another young Brazilian player who is looking to take that next step to in his career to either go back to South America having done well in MLS or take a bigger step towards Europe. And we saw him at Coachella. We didn't see him officially with the team, but now he's officially, with the team. And we have yet to see him hit the field. So there's so many like variables. There's so many unknowns. But in the end, the two teams still have to put 11 out there. They have to play each other. There's a history between both teams. There's the funny little, referee stuff going on as well. Um, how about instead of saying one team is going to win over the other, we have a draw? How about we call it a 3-3 draw in Portland, just so because we want some goals, right, Lewis?
Yeah.
And we have a tasty 3-3 draw up in Portland. And both teams can say, hey, you know what? We can get something positive out of this for LA Galaxy. Um, trying to manage all the changes in the roster over the last 2-3 weeks, and then going up to Portland, which is always difficult to play, like you said, and managing to take a point away. Yes, it's not 3 points. It's not something that's really you can really bite your, take a bite out, put your teeth into, but it's good points on the road. Like we said, it's difficult to win on the road in MLS. Providence Park is one of the most difficult places to participate, to go and play and get points from. It's something you could take home, and then Galaxy doesn't have to play in CONCACAF Champions Cup until early April. So it's a good opportunity for the team to take that, reset, and get ready for the next match, which will be against Orlando City. But Lewis, what do you think about that? 3-3 draw? Does that work for you
Hey,
too?
I mean, given the way the team is, right, just to see this current construction of the Portland Timbers be able to score 3 goals in a match would be a huge step forward. So even if it's a 3-3 draw, yeah, I would totally in this early stage of the season where we're just trying to figure things out with a bunch of new signings and a bunch of new players and a lineup that isn't comfortable with each other yet. I would love to see I would love to see that result in match day 4. Absolutely.
Well, I just want to correct myself real quick that after Portland, Galaxy will have to travel up to Minnesota, but at least they don't have to play like 3 days later. They get to rest a bit before they head up to Minnesota and play the Loons, who are probably salivating right now at the opportunity to get some payback on the LA Galaxy after what happened in the playoffs last season. Lewis, it's been amazing having you on here again, man. We really appreciate all the time you spend with us. I know you have a busy schedule. You're out there not just living a beautiful footballing life, traveling, el fiero viajero, but you also have this amazing career in music, which I always find so fascinating. I was like, wow, look at this guy. He's like a Renaissance man. He's doing so many different things. Um, and just having you on here is always an honor, man. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No, thank you guys infinitely for having me on anytime. Anytime you want to have me back, I'll make time for you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, from all of us, thank you so much, Lewis. Hey, send our best to Gotti and the rest of the group from the Lions Den podcast. Um, I don't know how you feel about this, but we also send our condolences because like before we came on, you mentioned that you lost one of the members of your crew, and uh, you know it always hurts, right, to
It
have somebody you care about deeply so much, somebody you shared so much with, you know, just be taken out of your life like that. So from all of us, we send you our deepest condolences, and we wish you the
Thank you
best,
very
you
much.
and the rest of your group, because grieving is something that doesn't happen right away. It's something that's a process, correct?
Yes, shout out to our dearly departed Javier Urquieta, um, beloved member of the Lions Den podcast team, and always, just like me, always up for making appearances on our colleagues of other teams. They're making content with them and appearing on their podcasts. If I were unable to do something like this and you wanted to talk some Leon, he would have been there with bells on. Another Southern California guy, San Diego, not LA. But yeah, he would have been there for you. And yes, our community in general has lost a great member. So any chance I have to discuss the memory and the legacy of Javier Urquieta, I will continue to do that. So thank you for that.
Well, once again, for everyone, thanks you for joining us tonight. Uh, Thank you to Brian for producing. Can we have some horns for Brian? There we go. Do we have any lions roaring for Lewis? Maybe, man. Maybe a chainsaw or something. That'd be awesome.
Next time.
A lion holding a chainsaw, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, Lewis, we're definitely going to have you back on for the next match between Galaxy and Portland. But up until then, Hey, man, we wish you the best in all your travels. Good luck to Leon and Liga MX, but not against America. And, until then, everyone, keep on nagging. And as I always say, baby, Wu-Tang for life. Let's go. On NAGn.